in this section we talk about something called linear regression. And before we get into the concept of this, I want us to look at this scenario here. The following graph contains the average tuition per year and required fees for all four-year colleges in the U.S. for selected years from 1990 to 2006. So not all the years in between, but selected years. What I want us to do here is graph this information, and we're going to talk about the graph and how it illustrates the relationship between the cost and the year. Now, I have a grid here for you, and I've kind of show you where to put your vertical axis and your horizontal axis. Here, we don't have enough space, and often we do this rather than putting all the zeros. We'll just say the cost is in thousands of dollars and use these. So every grid line will represent $1,000. Here, we could use the calendar year, but then each of these would have to be labeled with a 4-digit calendar year. So often we do this when we talk about calendar year is to create some starting value in terms of years and introduce a variable not given to us but related to what we've been given here. So what I'm going to do here is create a variable called y and not call it calendar year but years since we'll say 1990. So in other words, if let me draw it here. We'll call this years since 1990. Again, rather than using the calendar years along here, we'll start with an index year of 1990 and then go from there. So in other words, our y values here will indicate years from 1990. So this y value will have a 1 indicating 1991, 1 year since 1990. This will have a 5, this will have a 9, and from 1990 to there, that's 12, 14, and 16. So that our output variable here is y, not the calendar year. So we're going to relate, again, y and c, where y is the number of years since 1990. Okay, so each of these grid lines will represent a year since 1990 or an additional year since 1990, starting here at 0, and then that's 2 years after 1990. So label those and then graph this information, and then we'll talk about what the graph tells us and how are we going to interpret what it's telling us in the next video.